And hello, graduate students. As promised, this is the video about your graduate projects. So let's talk about what we're going to do for these things. First thing you need to do is go online to the Canvas page and look at the file up there called Graduate Projects, and you'll see the guidelines for the graduate projects there. And what I thought I'd do in this video is talk through what these things are. So let's go bit by bit through the expectations for graduate projects, shall we? There is no specific criteria you have to meet with the piece you choose to study. It doesn't have to be a certain length or difficulty level. Basically, it needs to be something where you can undertake a research project on it that is complex enough and advanced enough to where it's worthy of receiving graduate level credit in an advanced analysis course. So, if there's some piece out there you're curious about, this is a good time to maybe decide you're going to devote some energy to studying that piece. If there's no piece you're curious about, you need to get curious about one really quickly. And again, you're getting a music graduate degree, so if you're not curious about music, that's probably not going to be the most fun thing for you. You need to be curious about music. So when you choose a piece, I want you to run it by me before you start doing a lot of work. I want to approve it so that we can make sure that it's not only so that it's substantial enough for the project, but we also want to make sure you're not biting off more than you can chew. So, run the piece or pieces you're looking at past me and tell me what you think your area of research is going to be, and I can give you some guidance and some direction about where to go from there and let you know if that's a good project or not. And that is due. You need to have a decision of what piece you're going to be doing by Monday, January 18th. You can let me know via email what piece you're looking at studying. You can let me know before then if you have questions, but Monday the 18th is the due date. So let's talk about some types of projects that you might go with here. And again, when I'm saying project, I am definitely not saying research paper. That being said, one type of project you do might somewhat use a lot of the same approaches you would use in a research paper. It's that type of project that I call things sort of like analytical papers. And when I'm saying an analytical paper, I do mean an analytical paper. If you decide you're going to do a paper on some piece about Mozart, I want you to focus on that piece of Mozart and what's going on in it. Tell me what's happening with the black dots on the page. Don't tell me about Mozart. If you're doing a presentation on a Mozart piece and the first thing you say when you step up to do your presentation is Mozart was born in Salzburg in 1756, I am going to scream and give you a bad grade, because that's not what a theory paper is like. That's what a music history paper is like. I want you to focus on the music here. Nobody cares when and where Mozart was born. If it has direct bearing on the piece you're looking at, fine, but what we really want to talk about is analysis. And you can choose a work to analyze, and you can use whatever analysis process you're looking at on that entire work or on a big section of it. You could also choose a couple works that you think have some interesting similarities or differences and decide you're going to do a compare contrast thing with those. Or you could decide you're going to take some sort of musical aspect of musical construction and survey it through different pieces. You can say, I'm going to study how composers have approached isorhythm in the Renaissance, in the Romantic era, and in the 20th century, if you can find pieces that do that. So that's what we're looking at there. The thing that this doesn't have to be is it doesn't have to be an actual research paper that gets typed out with any certain length of pages. It doesn't have to have detailed footnotes or bibliography or anything like that. I want to know you're doing that level of research to arrive at your conclusions. If you quote somebody If you use ideas that you got from another source in your presentation, you need to credit those as a footnote or something else so that you're not plagiarizing. But you don't actually have to jump through all the hoops you jump through for a paper. It doesn't have to be 12 pages long. It doesn't have to be double spaced. It doesn't have to follow AMLS guidelines or anything like that. I just want you to have something to hand in to me at the end. And that something can be a bulleted list, or it can be like a short 3 or 4 page essay type excursion through what you did. But that is one option, is these things that are kind of like analytical papers. Here's another option. You could choose a more pedagogical framing for your project. You could talk about ways that you might go about teaching a particularly complicated piece of music to a class of either music students or non-music students for that matter. But you might talk about different ways of approaching a certain musical topic from a pedagogical standpoint, because one thing I think classical musicians have gotten very poor at doing is explaining what their music is like and why it's good. And maybe there's a correlation between why their audiences have shrunk too. But I think it would be fine to think about maybe having a way you'd talk about, here's a good way to explain these topics to high school students, elementary school students, college students, lay persons, whatever. So that's another option you could do. Again, you need to be doing it with something that's a sophisticated piece of music, or you need to be working at a sophisticated level with what you're doing. You can't just say, here are some good mnemonic devices for key signatures. That is not advanced analysis. And option 3 is something that's not either one of those other two. You can decide what it's going to be. This is part of why I'm telling y'all you need to run these ideas by me January 18th is, I want to make sure I approve it so that you don't devote too much effort to doing something that's not going to be adequate. So by Monday the 18th, hopefully you'll have an idea for what you're going to do. And let's just review the entire timeline for this process. Monday, January 18th, you need to let me know what you're thinking your paper is going to be about. Not just what piece or what composer or what technique or whatever you're going to be doing, but also what is going to be the actual focus of the research. Don't just tell me I'm going to do the Beethoven 7th Symphony or whatever. Tell me I'm going to look at rhythmic development in the 4th movement of the Beethoven 7th Symphony or something like that. Have an idea about what it's going to be in terms of its substance, not just what the piece is going to be. And you can let me know via email at my email address there. Next Thursday, we'll have a little advising session either in class or virtually where we talk about how your work is panning out and where you're getting with it. Because, Thursday or Tuesday and Thursday, the 2nd and 4th of February is when you're going to do your in-class oral presentations. They should last approximately 20 to 30 minutes each. I would say 20 minutes with time for questions. If you need to use any technology in the classroom, that's fine. Make sure you experiment with it well before the day you're going to do your presentation so that you can be sure that you can either use the facilities computers we have, or you can get your laptop or device of whatever sort to hook up to what we've got. You don't want to show up when you're supposed to be doing your presentation and realize it's not going to work. But we'll do the oral presentations the last Tuesday and Thursday in class. We'll draw for time slots when we get closer to the day. And by the end of the day on Thursday the 4th, I want your written materials handed in to me. And like I say, that doesn't have to be a paper, but it has to be sort of a short description of what your project was, copies of whatever handouts you may have given to the class or whatever things you may have shown the class, things like that. And if you need me, I'm here to consult via email all the time. We can set up appointments on Zoom or in office hours if we're coming into the building. So, don't neglect asking me for guidance. That's why I rake in the big bucks. So, here's something we need to think about. I'm recording this on January the 5th. So I don't know what's actually going to happen in January term. Right now we're still thinking we're going to have classes online the week of January the 11th, and that we might go back into in-person teaching in the classrooms starting on January the 19th. There is a chance that a couple of other things may happen. We may go into class to January the 19th as we've planned, or we may decide we're going to keep teaching online a little bit longer, or it may even be that the college decides they're going to do all of January term online. I need y'all to be ready for that. If we wind up doing all of class online, then your presentations are going to need to happen online as well. If they do, I'm going to give you all two choices. You can either do like a Zoom session or something like that. We'll get everybody together during class time and you can present via Zoom. Or if you want to do what I'm doing right now, you can make a pre-recorded video and upload it, and we will all watch it on our own time. Right now, it's a bit premature to think about all those things, because it might be that you get to do things the old-fashioned way and just show up in class with everybody there and go through it in person like we would do. But I want you to be thinking now about, if this comes down to being a virtual project, make sure you know enough about how to get through Zoom or how to make a recorded presentation to where you can do that. And on that note, one thing I would say, no matter what happens, whether we're live or Zooming or whatever, don't procrastinate. Start working now. This is a short term anyway. It only lasts into the very beginning of February, so you don't have a lot of time that you're in this class. So certainly you don't want to start your paper the weekend before it's due. You should be working on it as soon as you figure out what piece you're going to be focusing on. You want to be doing a little bit of work on it all the way through. You want to be working, drawing conclusions about the piece, and then a lot of times what happens is you need to work backwards. Once you get to measure 90, you realize something that sort of changes what you want to say about measure 50. So you need to be revising and changing things constantly. So be working on this throughout January term so that it doesn't sneak up on you, because this will be over before you know it. And again, the most important thing I can't stress enough to you is get in touch with me if you have questions or need a little bit of guidance. I'm pretty good at doing the email responses. So enjoy, and I will see you on our next video, which is Recovered Memories, Part 1.